What's going on, Badger fans? We are back, another reaction show. We try to do this whenever somebody commits to the Badgers, just to kind of get the initial thoughts on it. I got Justin with me on this one. He was a little upset I didn't loop him in on the Tackett one. He texted me too late.
Well, you never mentioned anything. That's not my fault. You could have said something.
Texted me too late, but we've got a defensive lineman. Thank the heavens. We've got a defensive lineman out of the portal. Let's talk about it on a quick version of Locked On Badgers.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for jumping in, whether you're watching this live or later. Throw your comments in the chat as always. We got another one. Let's play the cannons.
Fire the recruiting cannons. Another one is headed to Madison on Wisconsin.
Did you get Delancian?
Did I do what?
The corner?
I did.
Did he get his cannon?
Oh, yeah.
Just making sure everybody got theirs.
Everybody gets it. There is a plethora of ammunition in Bunker Herrings to fire off for recruiting. Everybody gets the cannons.
All the Nerf guns you can hope for.
Although I do need to do, this is coming up too, I'm going to do a full show on all the PWOs in this class too. I'm excited to do that and dive into those guys. There's some interesting PWOs as well that we haven't talked about. But I'm getting off track, Justin. Defensive lineman, Elijah Hill is coming out of Albany, commits to the Badgers out of the portal, 6'2", 280. He's played 3 years, so he's coming in with some experience, some size. You were the first one out of kind of our internal group to watch the film here. What did you see? What do you like? Thoughts on Elijah Hills here?
I like the burst. I like the body control of him. He's a guy who does a really, like, I watched this film. I'm like, he's quicker than any of the defensive linemen we have on the roster right now. I noticed that right off the bat, that it looks like when you see him knife through the line, like he comes at the quarterback or the running back quickly and really makes up ground in a hurry. That's something that we don't have really on this line. Like even when we had the sacks from our defensive linemen this year, they were kind of like the quarterback might have been kind of in a spot where he just had no place to go. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that looks like, you see his one sack, the quarterback started running from him and he just kind of dove through and grabbed his ankles and tripped him up. He probably lacks a little bit of power. Like that was the first thing I looked at him with when I saw it. I'm like, he moves well. I'm like, but I question how strong he is, and we'll see. This is where Brady Collins has to go to work in the lab with him and kind of get him ready to play. But yeah, he's got it. Yeah, he's gonna. I think this is a guy that might be 10 pounds heavier come fall.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you mentioned it too. He's going to go from an Albany strength conditioning program, and no disrespect to the Great Danes. Mm-hmm. They are the Great Danes, right? I believe
yes,
they are.
I believe so.
No disrespect to the Great Danes, who actually had a really good season this year. You're going to a Big Ten strength and conditioning program. You're going to get bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah. More money for nutrition, more money for all the physical, conditioning staff and everything.
The first thing, so you hit on something that I thought of too. The first thing that kind of stuck out to me watching the film, because listen, it's not his fault, but he's not playing the highest level of offensive line play, right? It felt like there were times where if you would like to see him push the pocket a little bit more against that level of offensive lineman. There were plays where he would get doubled and you'd have a little hard time getting off that. So it's probably not the most powerful player. I had the same feeling watching the film, but he has really good hands. Like he has a swim move. He's pretty quick. He's pretty light-footed for a 280-pound guy. He does give you, to your point, a little juice. Ryan Dalbert says, I like how he can get into the backfield. I think there's a comparison in the chat with, can this guy from Bite Me? Can this guy replace Rodas? I think from a snap perspective, he can replace some of that. He's a different type of player, though. Yeah. I don't think he's
very much so different.
Run, but I think he gives you more disruption potentially.
Mm-hmm. More disruption. I do wonder what he's going to look like against the run game. He's a guy I could see if he guesses wrong, could get washed out, because I don't know if he's got the ability to truly anchor and kind of sit and hold and diagnose, but. It really depends on what they want to do this next year with the defensive line scheme. If their goal is to just break through and cause disruption, maybe he gets some opportunity to make plays. But, if he gets wrong in a situation like that, it can be really ugly.
Zombie Panda says, looks a lot like Dylan Johnson, maybe a little small, but great first step in hands. He definitely has a good he's not going to be as strong as Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan's already at a Division I football player's strength level.
But he does have the hands. Like, I think that's a really good point from Zombie Panda. He's very active. He gets offensive linemen off of him. He has a swim move, a rip move. He against better and bigger, more physical offensive lineman, he's going to have a hard. There's a couple plays where he almost just jukes a guard and the guard doesn't touch him. Like, well, that's not going to happen against Iowa. But the other thing I would say, Justin, we talked about this before the show. It's also just about getting bodies. Like, you just need bodies on the defensive line, and you need to have a couple sets of bodies and waves and reinforcements, and that keeps everybody fresh. So just from that standpoint, I don't think he's a star, but I think he's a player who can play, and that's massively important for this team.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed that you and I both, we really like Willer. We think it would be a bad thing for him to have to come in and play massive snaps this next year. And I 100% think that we're doing him a disservice from a development standpoint if he gets thrust out there for 40 reps a game. I think he's a guy, 10 to 15 reps will be good for him as a freshman. And then you build off that the next year where he might be able to go out there and start. But I think it's asking a lot for somebody who's, number one, not used to playing at this level and being able to work against offensive linemen who are, redshirt juniors or seniors for the most part. They are much more physically developed. That's so much physicality that you can lean on a young player like that you don't want a kid like that being out there that much because he's going to wear down. He's going to be able to hold up an entire season playing 50 reps.
Yeah, it's not you honestly, you want him right for the more impactful reps if you can. Right? You want him in for.
You want a pass rush. You want to be out there when he gets to come downhill and just try to cause disruption.
Yeah, it's about, and Greg Linscomb hits it, man. It's about rotation. It's about rotation, and depth on the defensive line. Like, and I think Hills can come in and play. I think he can come in and he can give you reps, like Justin said, maybe a little juice. Listen, he had 1.5 sacks this year for Albany, 9 tackles for loss.
I'll admit, seeing the tackle for loss number and watching his burst, I was like, that sack number seems awfully low. Like, he seems like he should have had more with how disruptive he looks when getting through the line. So I'm curious. I would love to see more film on him to kind of see how the game's played out. Did he miss a couple opportunities and force, a couple other people to pick up sacks or what? But he looks like a guy who could have caused like the hockey assist sack numbers, so to speak.
Or maybe he missed a little time with injury. I agree. Yeah. Like, he looks disruptive enough that I was also surprised by the sack number. So that could be a lot of things, though, right? Like you said, that could be he forced pressures but didn't get the sack. We saw that a lot with the Badgers last couple of years. Maybe there's an injury. But again, there's nothing to complain about here. Like, people will worry about the level of competition. People will worry about the stats. He's a 280-pound body in a room with – you need more bodies. I
don't know about you. I like his film better than I like Varner's last year. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I'd have to go back. I was a little worried about Varner, and this is not hyperbole because half of his sacks came in one game. And I remember we talked about that's kind of like maybe that was just a third-string tackle that got thrust in, and the rest of the season he wasn't that impactful. There's no doubt about it.
I don't remember him having this much twitch.
Now, he was playing at a higher level, so it sometimes negates it a little bit. But, yeah, you might be right. Justin, do you think let me throw a couple of these comments up here. We talked about Rodas. Jason Geldon just says the Badgers are so choice right now. Steve Mitchell says, finally, the staff listens to Ryan and gets a defensive lineman. I agree, Steve.
I think the staff is looking for defensive linemen. They have to be the right fit.
The staff already knew. The modern perennialist, I asked this on another video, but could they redshirt tack it? Spread out the linebacker room a little bit. That's a good question.
I would be shocked if that happens. My gut instinct, and there are a lot of people that that think there may be some promises that were made here. I don't think there were. I think Tackett's going to be in the 2 deep. I think he will play this year. I think ideally you want him to be your second string guy who's going to get looped in and maybe get 20 or so plays a game and go out there and keep things fresh. But I don't think that you want him out there as a starter. Like, he was thrust into it at USC, and that was a bad move. Like, somebody brought up, we were talking about it in the Discord, that I said, what was the last middle linebacker prospect for Wisconsin that played as a true freshman? And I'm like, I can't remember anyone. I'm like, Chanel played as a redshirt freshman, but I don't remember.
Orland played as a true freshman.
He was not necessarily a true middle linebacker. Though. He was used as an outside linebacker and a pass rusher.
Sure, but he did play as a true freshman.
Yeah, but the difference between an outside linebacker and a middle linebacker is significant.
And it's also
like one guy's making calls.
And it's also Chris Borland.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I mean he's from an instincts in like football acumen, he's probably on the Mount Rushmore of Wisconsin defenders.
He's my all-time favorite Badger, not to digress. There he rates as Chris Orr. I don't think Orr played as a true freshman.
No, he did not.
Unless I'm mistaken. But your point is, no matter what, Justin, whether someone did that we're missing, I'm sure there's somebody we're missing, but your point is still accurate. Like, it's hard. It's hard. The point is it's hard as a true freshman to step in. And the other point I made with USC, like that defense was dysfunctional.
It was a terrible ecosystem for everybody.
Right. I love that you're taking the ecosystem word.
Yeah, I am. Well, it is. I mean, it is. You look at it as a whole. I said this earlier when as another Discord comment. I said, you have Lincoln Riley is an offensive coordinator masquerading as a head coach because he only cares about the offense, and he effectively chucks the defense on whoever his defensive hire's lap is. Now the issue is that you need as a head coach to understand everything as a whole if you want to have the most, the best possible ceiling for your team. And it just doesn't seem like he understands how to not destroy his defensive side. Like the expectations need to be, you need to set like a set pattern of, this guy may be more limited, but he's ready to play and mentally he's ready to do what we need in this system. And it's almost like USC feels like they're playing fantasy football. They're like, this guy's got all the athletic tools. Let's just throw him out there. He's got to be the best athlete. Yep. Well, yeah, but if he doesn't know what he's doing, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't help him at all. He's going to make mental errors left and right.
Yeah, and then he's going to get roasted, and then he's going to get frustrated.
And his confidence is going to go down the pooper.
Yeah, I'll say this. And the linebacker one is putting my hypothesis to the test, but people generally don't transfer to redshirt, especially guys of the pedigree of Patrick Curtis. So I don't think he's going to redshirt. I don't think he'd be coming here with the guy stepped on the field immediately at USC. I don't think he's coming here for a second season college football to redshirt. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't know that doesn't mean he's going to be the starter, but I don't think he's redshirting, man. I do wonder what's going to happen with all the other linebackers. That's for another show. Bo Dragon does say Elijah Hodge. Did he play as a true freshman? Possible.
I can't remember. I know he played early. I would guess at worst case it was a redshirt freshman, but it's not very often that we have guys that end up playing right away as a true freshman. It's just it's way too much on your plate at middle linebacker, especially if you're the one that's tasked with making the calls and checks. Like it's so much to be there to be mentally trying to do that and then also stay on top of it. Casillas is another guy, but he was on the outside.
Deborah says, I think Chris Orr did play as a true freshman. I remember him in the 2015 Holiday Bowl. Yeah, I could definitely be wrong on that. I know he played early. Bo Dragon, special teams will be beastly with all the linebackers. I think that's a great point.
It is. Listen, I was going to say, think off-season and conditioning here with this group of athletes. Yeah. Like Allegro and Tackett having to get into it.
I can't wait to see Heiberger, like Tackett, Allegro, Austin Brown, all these dudes covering a punt. Like it's going to be like OSU type of athleticism on the punt coverage stuff, which is going to be a lot of fun. Justin, true or false, you reached out for a D-line spot as well with your eligibility.
I am very undersized right now for that, as well as not remotely strong enough.
But you have heart. And you understand the game.
Yes. Yeah. I'd be like Rudy out there, just getting pummeled by guys.
Jake's in the chat. Jake's great as always. All right, we're going to wrap it there. Again, this was just kind of a quick show. I think, Justin, we should get together. We should do a big look at this class coming in.
I agree.
Like, if there's anything else we need to address. Really quick, do you think they need another defensive lineman?
I definitely think they need another defensive lineman. Do you think they need a guy in the middle? A nose guard? Or are you okay with taking the shot at Howard? Redshirt freshman is a lot to ask. I mean, we've done it before. We've done it before. But,
here's my problem. And I get people kind of telling me, like, Ryan, you need to relax. And I'm just saying, like, in my head, I'm thinking, I think they need an inside guy and an outside guy still. Like,
I wouldn't disagree with that necessarily. I just think at some point you have to start looking at it from a body count. But I 100% think that we are undernumbered at the defensive line position. Like we should have 14 guys on the roster, at least 15 in my opinion. And that should be what they're looking at with the scheme that we're playing. Like if you want to go 3 front,
Yeah.
what do you want options?
Like what's a bigger need to you, the inside or an edge rusher on the defensive line?
With our run defense this year, I think I would want a nose guard. I really like Howard, and I think his upside's there, but I want somebody who's got experience and who has shown they don't need to be disruptive, but I want somebody who's shown that they can be a good defensive, somebody that tree stump that we can throw out there that can give us 30 snaps and basically just eat up rundowns.
Yeah, I agree. Because listen, if you don't stop the run, all those athletic linebackers, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I think he'll be better this year because I think the pass rush will be better on the edges, which will loosen up things for everybody if we can get some pressure on a quarterback. But yeah, the middle's not going to get better unless we have somebody that can actually hold up blockers.
Yep. No, I agree. We'll finish with this one with Smo. I told myself not to get excited about the portal this year around, but I can't. Let's go.
Well, you can be excited about the additions and still be grounded in terms of what the expectations are. And that's the difference between last year and this year for me. Like I really like some of the pieces we're adding, but until I see production from it, I'm not going to get super excited about it quite yet.
Yeah, I'm taking the under this year, Justin. No matter what it is, I'm taking the under.
So if it's 5, you're going to be like, well, it's going to be 4.
If they say that low, I'll take the over. But I bet you the line this year will be about 7.5.
Yeah, I think that's probably a solid number. There's so many new pieces coming in that it's really hard for me to get it. Like, I don't want to put a feel on this because I have no clue.
No, it's way too early. I agree.
Yeah, it's really hard to get a feel for us. If Van Dyke ends up being a cross between his freshman year and last year, there's a chance that we end up being a 9-win team.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he has 24 touchdown passes and like 9-10 picks, that's a really productive year.
Or what about TK? He has 50 touchdowns and 0 picks for Tyler Van Dyke. Bite Me says TBD.
Well, then we better be winning the title.
Yeah. Jason says that the line is 7.5. We're due for an over. We're going to do a whole show on that one. So I derailed us on that. I apologize. But all right, we're going to wrap it there. Justin and I are going to do a big recap on a portal show. I think that's deserved at this point. But Elijah Hills, they got a defensive lineman, Justin. They needed one.
Ryan is happy now.
It makes my heart happy. On Wisconsin, and we'll talk later.
On Wisconsin.